Hey, welcome everyone to another one of our heart-powered inspiring interviews. And as you know, every time we bring you an amazing, uplifting, inspiring speaker, entrepreneur, change maker, movement creator, and we have someone really special with us today. Her name is Dr. Pauline Crawford, and I've known Pauline for quite a few years. We've been on sharing quite a few stages around the globe, and I'm really feeling honored and excited to bring her insights and wisdom to you today. Who is Pauline? Well, she is a chief vision officer, right? She's a corporate heart international, and she's an author. Her book is called The Power of Authentic Harmony. She's a speaker, she's a performance consultant, and she has more than 30 years of experience in behavior excellence and corporate transformation with collaborative and change-focused conversations amongst leaders. And we all know that it's conversations that really trigger change, right? Her approach really blends logic and emotion, allowing people to transform with authenticity. And that's the key if you really want to create a transformational change. She really has designed an innovative navigation technique that she calls gender dynamics intelligence. This tool really educates our heart-centered leadership language for authentic harmony workplace cultures aimed at enhancing collaboration amongst men and women, addressing inequalities, and to be their best natural self. Well, Pauline, it's amazing to have you today. Welcome, welcome.
It's wonderful to be here with you, Monique, and I'm so delighted to be flying high with you. It's just wonderful
Yeah,
because we have some serious issues in the world to deal with, don't we?
we do, and collaboratively we can, right? There's nothing impossible, right? So we are both heart-powered eagles, and you're also part of our heart-powered eagle ambassador group. That's amazing, right? So let's jump right in and let's really focus on what you bring to the world and to everyone that's here with us today. Share with us like what are your own top three best practices, success secrets, right? So what are top three things you do right now to bring again your speaking, your business, your mission to the next level?
Oh, it's always good to look at things in threes. I think one of the first points is, and you might notice I look as if I'm sitting in my lighthouse, but I do find the illustration of the lighthouse really important. So the first point is always recognizing the light that shines from you every day when you get up. Just think about what light do I shine today? So imagine you're a lighthouse. You're strong, you're shining. And I would say that it's about the power of your own self-belief in that lighthouse and the light that you shine.
Mm.
I've always had a passion about harmony. I was blessed to be brought up in a very harmonious family with a sister and two brothers. And I always loved being with lots of friends and shining my light. But I didn't realize for a long time in my life how I was powering my own lighthouse. So I think that's the second most important thing is to practice every day things that make you shine. I've just started a 30-day dance challenge. So I've been dancing around my garden. But, the whole idea of body, mind, heart, soul, we come together. The lighthouse is that embodiment. So maybe the third aspect is when I get to know myself, how do I get to know other people who are not like me?
Mm.
And that is key, is to think about that is we don't know anybody else's lighthouse. We don't know anybody's light. We see that, we feel it, we tune in, but to respect and honor that and be authentically your own lighthouse. But then to go out and seek what's different about other people. And that's where my whole passion about men and women understanding each other comes to the fruition because unfortunately, we do know there are inequalities and imbalances in the world between men and women. And I think it's very important that we address this now in today's world in a very different way to the past. And what I mean by that is taking that personal light and understanding that if we combine all the lights in the world, we can actually create what I'd call a human power grid of authentic harmony. So that's my personal vision. Be myself, be my light, understand how I gain my energy to set the light on, and then how do I understand other people?
Mm. Great. So let's jump right in. And, I know that, I meet a lot of people that are brilliant and they don't fully embrace their brilliance. They don't really know what is light or shining, right? So, how can people that, a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, they say, well, I just had a conversation today with someone and she said, how do I know I'm a good coach? How do I know I can really make an impact on all of these kind of things? So how can people really embrace their brilliance and recognize the light they're shining?
This is a very interesting point, is that sometimes we won't know what influence we're having in our lives. I know I've had that experience where somebody I met years ago will contact me and say, do you know, that conversation we had, it made a difference to my life, but I didn't do anything straight away. But 2, 3 years later, I changed my whole life, and it started with that conversation. And I was thinking, oh, that's wonderful. So I think also kind of let go of how far your light shines. Because again, thinking about the lighthouse doesn't move. This is something I always share with people, like, we don't need to go out and fix everybody. What we need to do is to understand that we're there to let our vibrations resonate with other people. And for some people, they may not. And that's okay too. So when we're working with other people, we're looking at communities that could be harmonious. Maybe not everybody is in this orchestra. It may be that they choose to be in another orchestra. That's fine. So if you think about harmony, harmony has to be two or more voices together. So it comes back to this idea of, do I truly know myself? So to the question, how do I know my light shines? We need to look in the perception mirror and maybe share sometimes with other people, how do you perceive me? So that could be a very simple exercise, which I like to share. That what you could do today is actually write down your own perceptions of yourself on a post-it note, but then go and find somebody who truly honors and loves you, maybe a family member, it might be a colleague, depending, but always ask somebody who loves and honors you, how do you perceive me? And do it in a positive way. So they write down 3 words and they give it to you, and then allow that to be a gratitude, because there may be words on there that you hadn't thought about. So don't knock them back, but actually everybody's perception is their reality. So as all these lights are shining together, we need to share that. And this exercise is so uplifting and enriching. And that's one of my goals, is let's have a joyful, uplifting, engaging life. And one of the aspects to deal with is when you've got that 3 words from somebody, and if you did that with your family or your group at work, get somebody else to introduce you by the words that you have actually written and other people have shared. It's extremely empowering, and it moves us away from ego into purpose and passion, which is something I think is an essential ingredient for what we can do in the world with everybody else.
Right. And how does, knowing what light you shine, Pauline, how does that help you grow your own business and your own speaking?
Well, in my own business, it helps me to shine into the heart of some people who haven't realized where their light turns on. This is really interesting because we know, when you've got a dark room, you switch on the light. And some people are sitting in the dark and they think they're a light, and they're not. So what we're doing is we're not fixing them. We're not saying, hey, I'm going to turn your light on. We're actually saying, have you ever thought of this? This is what I see in you. You know what I understand about you, what I sense when I'm with you. You work very creatively, you work very efficiently, you work with compassion. I see you, all sorts of things. Just be observational and share. And people love it. It's like when you go to a room and you say, oh, do you know what I love about the way you work is that you're always so on time. And that might be something that they are very proud about, and it will make them feel their light. So I think turning the light on, for me, helps me create a corporate heart culture. And one of my visions is that if I can turn on a number of corporate heart culture companies, and as they shine their light, it becomes observed by other people who are maybe in the dark. So one of my almost my implicit conditions to a client when we start working with them is to say, when we get to the end and you've gained this heart, we want you to tell other companies about it. Be proud. So it goes back to that personal example of owning your words, sharing them, and getting other people to share them. In fact, it's actually much easier for somebody else to share my prominent light than it is my own. I'm just shining. That makes sense. It's a different attitude to going out and saying, I'm this, I'm that, watch me, listen to me, notice me. We're actually allowing the light to do the attraction. And of course, in terms of a corporate heart culture, the customer feels the light. So customers are drawn to corporate heart companies. And that's really where I grow my business.
I love it. And, I love also how you say is look into the perception mirror. So, get others to actually mirror back to you what your brightest light is, right? And again, the more people you ask, the more amazingness you're collecting, and the more amazingness you collect, the brighter that your light shines, not only from the outside in, but also from the inside out, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing about authenticity. And I know authenticity is banded around a lot, but being authentic, we do want responses from other people, but we don't always need them. That's where when we meditate or we dance, which I love to do, or we are in our own space and bubble, it's not being selfish, it's actually re-energizing the light.
Right.
That's very important.
Right. So you also said that your point number 2 is practice what makes your light shine. How do you practice what makes your light shine, and how does that have a positive impact on your business and what you do?
Well, I think it's about the consistency of the light. So whether you're talking to people, I run wisdom circles, or I'm writing on LinkedIn, the messages are consistent. So I'm always obviously writing about authentic harmony, that's in my book, but it's also about, I have key words, heart-centered leadership, real synergy, conversation strategy, is to keep on, keep your dialogue directed at the light that you want people to see. I think the important thing is, and this is what I study with my archetypes, is we all got different lenses. So if you like, the lighthouse lens, my lighthouse lens is as a female, as a mature British woman, as somebody with a very logical mindset. I call myself a magician in terms of my own archetypes, but being authentic about that. So I don't have to be like everybody else, but I totally respect that everybody else is somewhere else on the gender dynamics spectrum. And by knowing that, we get into this lovely cycle of, as I know me, and I love and trust myself, I love and trust you because I know you to be different and similar. And it's that circular notion, which I dare say I feel is very female and very, very feminine. It's about the flow. I love the sea, as you can see here, and I love the flow. And the flow is fast sometimes, and sometimes it's slow. And that's as we tune into ourselves and our own authentic light, we will notice other people's lights shining across the ocean towards us. And I think the thing is that there is a lot of people arguing at the moment, a lot of people trying to control other people, a lot of policies are put in place, and that's all stopping the flow. So though we need some rules and some direction, I think women in particular are very good at understanding the energy flow around policy and around the terrain that's out there at the moment.
I love it. I love it. And, I know that you also, one of the tools that you use is actually having meaningful, powerful, uplifting conversations, right? So, can you give us some principles of how, I also love how you say, it's also very much connected with what you just spoke about, is about, allowing flow, allowing being in flow and everything else, right? So, but what are some of the principles to have these kind of meaningful conversations?
Well, this is where it's important to have structure as well as flow. So with what I call a magical conversation, which could be in a wisdom circle format, there's actually some specific rules. For a start, it's often time bound. So, it might be a session run for an hour or an hour and a half. And in that session, you gather in a circle, where possible without a table, but if it's at a table, ideally a circular table. And the reason for that is that we can see each other, we can all see each other. And the conversation is in the space between us. So although somebody might bring a topic to the table and literally put it in the middle of the table, the conversation is not held by one person. And we invite everybody to contribute without judgment, so they can bring their experience in. And this is a very important kind of gestalt way of doing things, is that when I bring my experience to a topic that you put on the table, or I put on the table, or Mary's put on the table, or Tom, I look at the topic and I share from my experience. So the energy is directed into the center of the table, and nobody controls the airwaves. And the second rule is that there's no anger. So there's lots of passion and enthusiasm, yes. But if anybody starts getting angry, it will destroy the creative contribution, because the last rule is there's no need to take action in that time bound. So after the 90 minutes or the hour, then we might go off, have a coffee break, or come back the next day. And then we'll look at what was said, because we'll make notes of it literally almost randomly or in a mind map. And then we'll go back, and with that fresh eyesight, we look at it and go, oh, wow, we said that. Now what action should we take? So we're separating the control rigidity of our traditional way of doing things with an available sort of creative pursuit. And I believe you could put any topic on the table. And so one of the other key things is, if we know who's at the table, and when I say no, I don't mean it's the boss or my colleague. It's actually, we know the sense of who they are. And this is where I use my archetypes. So when we know that maybe there's a ruler there who's very bullet point and wants action, he may be less induced by this conversation, but he will be engaged at the magic that's happening on the table. The philosopher is going to be much more, well, why? Why is this? And questioning and theorizing. The sovereign's going to be, who is around the table? How do I link in with everybody? And the magician like me is usually saying, well, what are we going to do? So those questions are in there in the mix. But because we have this rule that there's no judgment and we're not going to do our KPIs until tomorrow, what happens is people get used to this ego-less state. And it might take a couple of times for those who are not used to conversation. And as we know, men are less conversationally based than women. But if we follow the rules, what happens is you also got a learning sense about each other. And I know that over my experience, people say, I love coming to these because I don't have to be, I don't have to feel that I'm on an exam or that I'm going to be tested. It kicks in this freedom just to be your natural self. And for me, that's the key to harmony, is being your natural self. And the reason I call it magical conversations is that you don't know what's going to turn up. And it's, I've been in so many and I thought, oh, that's amazing.
Right. Couldn't have imagined that coming up here, right? Or that kind of perspective, or that's what they really meant, right? It's powerful.
Yes.
So, Pauline, what would you, I mean, we always love to give everyone, also an opportunity to learn more about what does Pauline do on a day in, day out basis? Like, what are some of your success habits? I know that you work with, quite influential leaders around the globe. You're really working to create corporate hot cultures and all of these kind of things. A lot of people say, I wish I would work with people like that. So what are some of the things, you know, or just one, maybe give us one success habit, one thing you do day in and day out pretty regularly that really, you know, contributes to who you are today and to your success?
Well, I was thinking that actually putting my makeup on every morning, and that might sound odd or not. Obviously, men don't wear makeup, but for me, it's a practice of being in my body. And I might have been very tired, had a late night or whatever. And I go to the mirror and I do this practice, and it doesn't take me very long. So I go, I'm fortunate I've got short hair, but it does really make me smile because it's a very simple technique. And when I finished, I don't go back to it during the day, maybe a bit of lipstick, but it makes me feel good. It makes me feel that I'm in my professional status, but it's also in my female status. And, you know, it's part of being prepared for the day. So I may be on Zoom a lot, talking to people in different countries or different time zones. And I want to make sure that when they see me on the screen, that my makeup is good, my smile is genuine, my energy is there. I always wear my pearls. That happens to be my kind of symbol. But for
Right.
me, it's about that consistent presence. So people know me from my presence. And I didn't actually learn to do makeup till I was well into my 30s. So I,
Okay.
I, I wasn't one of those girlies who were heavily into makeup when I was a kid.
Right.
And so I think it's like putting clothes on, putting your face on, putting your energy on. You're doing it not in an ego sense, but you're doing it to say, hello, I'm ready for you. Are you ready for me?
That's beautiful. I love it, Pauline. And every time you're in a conversation with an inspiring personality like you, we also like to give something to everyone that they can really practically do today, you know, to really turn things around for themselves, their conversations, their flow, their business. What would you say they could do? And I have a sense that you said it already because you already gave a very practical hint earlier today. Do you want to stick to that, or you want to give everyone that's here with us today
No,
something else?
I want to give something else. It's I think we've been in a world situation in business where it's always, you know, I introduce myself by saying, you know, I'm Dr. Pauline Crawford, blah, 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 blah. But actually, sometimes I think it's important to introduce yourself by what you value. So actually, and rather than your name and your title, is saying, oh, it's really great to see you today. You know, one of the things I'm hoping we can do is to have an amazing magical conversation because that's will lift our energy and help us do whatever we need to do together. My name is Dr. Pauline Crawford. So I come in with the name at the end out of a sense of delivering a message because you're inviting that person into your space. So think about how you would invite somebody into your space. And it doesn't need to always be jolly and happy. It might be on occasions that it's a serious situation. And we introduce ourselves by saying, you know, I'm genuinely concerned about you know, what we're doing here today, and I want to make sure that everybody is part of that. My name is Dr. Pauline Crawford. But you've given that intro, not just for your name, but what do you want to do with the meetings?
Mm.
Do you want to make it joyful, uplifting, but maybe serious? Make the words sense. Words are so important, and we don't use them enough in a descriptive way.
So
We
what,
hide behind labels.
right. So what you're saying is you introduce yourself with an intention,
Set an intention
a value-based
and
purpose and intention to say, you know, you open the space by inviting someone.
so open the space with an intention, but attach it to your own values
Yeah.
or something that is creative from you. So I mean, for instance, with our eagles, you know, the whole essence of being an eagle inspires us to think about flying high. I mean, in fact, that is a very collective value that we can give to a meeting without saying our name.
Yeah. So let's
So
fly high
though your
together.
name is
Fly high
important,
together today, right? Something like that. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Great. So Pauline, you and I could keep talking forever. So what, yeah, a lot of people say, I really would like to reach out to Pauline. And I know that you also have written an amazing book recently, which I get my hand on as soon as it came out. Really inspirational. So the power of authentic harmony. Yay. Love it. So again, where can people
Yes.
find the book? Where can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Well, one of the best places to find me is on LinkedIn or corporateartinternational.com. My book is on Amazon, and it's the only book called The Power of Authentic Harmony. And it is available as a hardback, a paperback, and at the moment as an ebook for only $1. So everybody can do that. I am also going to do an Audible book, but I haven't got round to that yet. And I'm thinking of translating it into French because I'm working with some French nations in Africa. Now, I don't actually speak French myself, so I won't do the audio version, but I think for me, it's a message for the world.
It is absolutely a message to the world, Pauline. I thank you for being on with us today, and all of you. Again, sometimes business is not only, getting things done day in, day out. The question is how we get them done, how we get into flow, how to make our light shine, how you make other people's light shine, how we make sure our lights shine together. That is where the real magic begins.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much
Yes,
for being with us, Pauline.
Thank you for having me on this.
Okay, you want to round it off with a final message, for an inspirational final message for everyone?
Well, I think because of the world we live in, we have to connect the shine of our light into our wealth and our profit. And that's one of the key things is, when people say to me, oh, yes, but that's intangible. I say, no, it's not. When you actually have a light shining throughout your organization, and it starts from you, if you're a business leader or a team leader, or you're a colleague or whoever you are, it will increase the capacity for your business, whether it's solo or you're in an employed situation. It will increase the business profit, because today we have a lot of trauma. There's a lot of uncertainty economically. When we focus on our own energy, the customer comes towards us. The customer means profit. We will create our own wealth through being in that authentic harmony position. So I encourage you to not think it's a soft skill. It's actually a life skill. And your life is valuable, and it will make you wealthy.
And again, business and life go hand in hand. It's the same thing anyhow. So love it. Okay, good. Thank you, Pauline, for being on with us and sharing your precious wisdom and brilliance with all of us and me. I mean, I'm definitely going to play, and I'm going to take action on some of the golden nuggets you shared with us. Beautiful. And all of you, again, thank you for being on today with us. Thank you for being loyal and to us, and getting inspired again with every one of our interviews. And again, just as we say, just take action. Don't just get inspired. Okay. Don't just sit on these golden nuggets. Let them actually create magic in your life and your business. And definitely get connected with Pauline, right? Reach out to her. Get your hands on her book. Okay. And get inspired that way. And as I always say, just keep creating your own magic in your own powerful way, and speak up, scale up, impact the world in your own juicy way. Okay, we'll be in touch, and again, take action on the suggestion from Pauline, and look forward to seeing you on one of our next interviews and in our HeartPowered Global Nation and HeartPowered Eagle community. All the best for now. Cheers.
Thank you.